As we move to the most special session that we have this time at the second day of the World Woman Davos Agenda, every year we present the World Woman Hero Award, an advocate for us, an exceptional woman who leads with purpose, creates meaningful change, makes a lasting impact on the world, and inspires us that we can do it too. It is my immense pleasure and honor to honor such a woman who has transformed lives of many women around the world. As the first African Director General of the World Trade Organization, she is the driving force in empowering nations and also making sure we have a fair global economy. It is my honor to invite, first of all, on stage, Maria Mikhalenko to join me to give this incredible award, the World Women Hero Award, to none other than our hero and the champion for millions of women around the world, Dr. Ngozi. Just watch your steps. We especially are super happy. I know you are busy like crazy, and I don't know how much sleep you had, but I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll just maybe a couple of remarks.
Yes.
First of all, I just want to say good morning. The energy in the room was palpable when I came in, and I love the panel that I had the privilege to listen to for a few minutes. And a young woman influencer, she's left, but oh, there she is. She was terrific. She's influencing. I thought there's a lot of activity and excitement going on in this room, and I just came from a very sober meeting on the tensions between the energy transition and trade policy. Does that sound exciting? It is, anyway. But thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm very honored to receive this award. And special thanks to Rupa and to all of you in the World Women's Foundation for this. And I think one of the reasons that I'm honored is because quite a bit of the work we're doing on the women's and gender side aligns with what you're doing through the World Woman Launchpad and Fund that provides access to women entrepreneurs to capital, coaching, collaborative community, and so on. It really resonates with what we're trying to do at the WTO. And at the WTO, I've been committed from day one to trying to make sure that our work empowers women, to trying to improve within the ambit of what I can do, the situation of women, both within the workforce of the Secretariat. For the first time, we have 50% of my management team, the DDGs, are women. I insisted when I was coming in that, shortlists must include women. We've not, beyond that, I'm still struggling, but we're making inroads, not because we want women, and I don't think we should despair on the direction of DEI. We should just, you know what I've been saying everywhere and everything, let's chill. Okay, let's take a deep breath. You know me, because trade is in the crosshairs and it's tariffs everywhere, people are expecting me to hyperventilate, and they're asking me, oh, there's no pain on your face, you don't look afraid. And I'm saying, no, because I'm going to keep very focused. The objectives and the purpose we're driving for in trade are still valid. And therefore, I'm acknowledging very much the issues they are of trade friction fragmentation. I'll say more about it maybe later, so let me not take time. But I'm just trying to say, if we lose focus because we are hyperventilating over what is happening, we'll be diverted. So please, I liked what I heard. Let's keep focused. The objectives and purpose are right. The principles behind what we're doing on the women's front is right. And therefore, we have to keep going. So that's what I want to say to you all, and that's why the work you're doing here is very good. We do have, just to share with you one or two thoughts, we launched a $50 million fund at the WTO because we found that women who trade internationally earn 3 times more than those who trade domestically. So if we can support women who are trying to trade across borders, we can increase their well-being, their wealth, that of their family. And you know, when you increase that of one woman, it just ripples and resonates. There's so much research on that. We don't need to repeat it. So, and then we found women were among those, the numbers trading digitally is rising. And how to empower them was something, and I was excited because it's not just women in developed countries. When you go to developing countries, you find that women are really very much involved in digital trade. Sometimes they're successful but don't know how to scale. And I'm tired of little pilot things here and there. So we started saying, how do we help them to scale? What could we do? Would a $2-3 million grant help them scale? Because it leads to far more employment of many more people in many of the developing countries. So I have an ulterior motive. How do we create jobs through these women? So we have this fund. The manager of the fund, one of the managers is here, Nicole Mensa. We're doing well. We've raised about 22 million now, and we hope we'll reach to 50, and then we'll double it. So whatever we can do in trade, we're trying to do, and we're happy to see you're doing the same. Women are facing unprecedented challenges, but it's not just, you'll be surprised to hear those at top leadership levels face the same challenges as others. We captured a bit of this in my book with Julia Gillard on women and leadership, real lives, real lessons, where we interviewed 8 women leaders and then added our own experiences to share. And there we have a role for men. I heard you say something about men. Yes, let's not just be talking to each other, the converted. We need to go out there. There are men who want to help, who are willing, who believe in the cause. But what do we want them to do? And we try to spell out in one of the chapters a role for men. So let me end here and say thank you. Let's keep going. We believe in the cause. I'm not going to stop, and neither should you. Thank you.
So, hello, World Woman Davos Agenda. Thank you, Rupa, for bringing us together. I'm Aleksandra Karasińska. I'm a journalist and director of Ringier Springer Foundation, and I'm so honored and happy that you found your precious time to stay with us. It's a statement, actually, that you care about women issues. Thank you. Dr. Ngozi, you started your speech with very good advice to stay chill, to stay focused on our goals. And this is a sign of real leadership. This is what helps us a lot. So my first question is, looking ahead in this year, 2024, what are the most important trends in global trade? What should we observe? And how can this impact and even promote gender equality?
Well, thank you very much. The first trend I want to talk about is that when I go to sessions, you get this impression that all is falling apart. And I just want to correct that. We are facing severe challenges in trade. There has been rising protectionism and fragmentation, and that's of great concern. But I want you to know that 80% of world goods trade is still taking place on WTO terms, meaning that the vast majority of countries and traders and businesses are still observing the rules. So let's not hyperventilate. That's my word. Let's chill. The second thing is that goods trade, that total world trade is $30.4 trillion. And it's higher than now than the peak pre-pandemic of about 25 trillion. So I want to give us a sense of perspective. We may be having problems, but things have not fallen apart. So that's, and therefore what we need to do is focus on not continuing the emerging fragmentation and protectionism. So that's the first thing we need to just bear in mind. The second thing is that even as this, the fragmentation and protection is a problem. The reason why we need to be concerned about that, which I am, is because if it continues, we risk a world, if we have tit-for-tat tariff wars and all that, where we could suffer real losses in global GDP in every country. We've modeled this. At the minimum, something like 6.4%. If we break into two geopolitically divided trading blocks, we will lose 6.4% of global GDP in the longer term. That's like losing the economies of Japan and Korea combined. We certainly don't want that. And that is why we are saying to our members, let's keep calm. If one member puts measures, don't immediately retaliate. If it's 25, I'll do 40, and things like that, because it will lead to a tit-for-tat war, which we don't need. It will impact every country in the world, those doing it plus those who are not, especially developing countries. So we have mechanisms at the WTO to take care of this. If you feel a member has harmed you, you launch an investigation. And I actually want to say that when the executive order came out, everyone was expecting to see 60% tariff on this, 30 on that, 20 on the other. But what did you see? Have any of you actually looked at the executive order on trade issues? We are hearing announcements every day, but what it actually says is launch a series of studies and investigations. Even on the External Revenue Service, it's launch a study to see if we can do this. So that is along the lines of the type of advice that we give. And there are 3 months, the study should be ready by 1st of April. Now, I don't guarantee what will happen after, but at least I'm saying there are procedures and processes. We encourage our members to follow it so we don't descend into a world trade war. The second thing I want to talk about is the opportunities within trade. So even as we see all of this, and this is where the empowering of women comes in, we see exciting opportunities. Digitally delivered services trade, which is all the trade that goes on through the internet and so on, is the fastest growing segment of trade today. It's growing at 8% per year. And women are very much involved in this, which is why we went into launching this fund on the, women in the digital economy. So I see it as an opportunity to really empower women, to help them improve their lives, the lives of their households and that of their economies. And to lift them up and give them the power and strength they need in their field. This is one opportunity we need to seize. Digitally delivered services trade today is worth $4.25 trillion of the $30.4 trillion of global trade, and it's growing the fastest. But it's growing in developing countries. That's what's exciting. So if you want to do work and help in trade, this is where you need to look. The second area is green trade. Green trade, and where we will face challenges in that, is almost a $2 trillion business. And we need trade if we are going to meet our climate challenges, because you cannot, we need to diffuse the technologies that are being created from where they are created to where they need to be adopted. And that's another opportunity.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you said. I recall it with a statement that I read in one of the economical journals, that trade wars are bad for everyone. Nobody wins. Nobody wins, and we have to remember that very much. Okay, so you mentioned digital trade, and this is something really we are looking forward, also in sense of equality, as you say. And the digital trend is that the global economy is transforming. How do you think that we can ensure, and governments and organizations like yours, really strengthen their trade in the digital age, and particularly in those underserved regions where equal access to those opportunities are not the same as in the developed countries?
Yeah, it's a great concern. If digitally delivered services trade and digital trade is growing, and AI has become the key and it's not going away. By the way, we find that AI can make trade more highly productive, and it can be a force for improvement because it helps to reduce costs in the supply chain. So trade costs go down. We've just done a study on it called Trading with Intelligence that outlines all the ways it could be helpful. And it could help developing countries because it can help them leapfrog certain things. Health diagnostics where there are not enough medical personnel, education, agriculture, precision farming, and so on. So many applications. But the issue is, if we don't bridge the digital divide, it will not happen. And this is the fear with the global south. If you look at Africa, 38% of people are on the internet compared to about 68% globally and 93% in the developed countries. So obviously we need to look at the infrastructure, both basic infrastructure where, millions of households still on the continent and in other developing countries don't have access to basic electricity. So investment needs to go into that. Digital infrastructure itself, investment needs to go into that. We are not a financing agency, but we collaborate or cooperate, and we have projects with the World Bank and others that have financing to try to see what can be done to bridge this divide. Otherwise, we might miss the opportunity to really use that. But where it's available, women and young people in particular are using it. So let's try to see how we can ensure that the global south doesn't lose out on this particular side.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ngozi, you said about to focus and stay calm, but we see this global risk report that was published a couple days ago by World Economic Forum, and in the short term they stated that one of the major risks is state war, even a conflict. But still, when I was reading the report, I saw that in the 10 years perspective, the climate change is still number one, and we know it very well. So from your perspective as a global leader and looking at the trade and the global economy, how climate challenges and climate catastrophe affects vulnerable economies and developed countries, and what can we do to save the planet and have a healthy, sustainable future?
Well, let me say that it really is difficult if you listen to those who cast doubt on the issue of climate change and its consequences, because it's clear and visible to all to see. Farmers in my village tell me that they're having difficulty because they don't know, the rains come late, they don't know when it will come. It's not at all like before. They don't know when to harvest, when to plant. So clearly something is happening. Of course, they don't call the thing climate change, but they tell me that something is different and it's happening. So that's just even at the local community level. So you have to get real, and we've all seen the evidence of this. So again, it's like what I say about the world trade and China and the US. US-China trade sparks a lot of contention and talk, but it's less than 3% of total world trade. So let's also get a perspective. There's the rest of the world. The question is, what are the rest of the world's leaders willing and ready to do? What are the rest of the world's people ready and willing to do? Are we going to say that because there's a change somewhere in one country, then we all depart and we do things differently? No. We shouldn't do that. So my advice to other leaders when we talk is, you stay focused, you make clear what your priorities are and that you're going to stay steadfast. Business. Yes, I know some may want to conform, but many have already made long-term investments in directions that support a clean energy transition, and they can't pull back. So stay steady, stay focused. The evidence is clear, and keep delivering That's what I'd like us to do on the trade side, where I believe that trade can be a force for good towards advancing the net zero by 2050. And we're doing all we can, from looking at carbon pricing, a global carbon pricing framework. We're leading a multi-agency task force to try and draw this up so developing countries can have an instrument to talk about CBAM with the EU, to standardizing emissions standards with the steel industry. So whatever we can do, what I'm saying is what you have control over and you can do, please do not get diverted, because the problem is real. So leaders who believe should stay focused, keep leading, press on, do more. Okay, you may even do more to compensate for those who are not doing. But certainly don't say, oh, I'll now hang back, and because it's not happening elsewhere. Even within the US, there'll be those who'll be doing what they can do. That's my advice.
Thank you so much. Just a short notice, I observed that during Davos, only 2 or 3 great women leaders said those words. Yesterday, Ursula von der Leyen said the same. We have to stay focused. Europe is committed to the Paris Agreement. We will cooperate with everybody who wants to cooperate, and this is the way to lead. So, lastly, I know we are running out of time, but you are celebrated as one of the first woman and first African to lead WTO. What does this recognition mean to you personally, and how do you see it inspiring the next generation of women leaders?
Well, I'll tell you my feelings. First of all, it's very difficult when you're celebrated, and I'm being most sincere. Most of the time, I can't really enjoy it, being this, being that, because I'm worrying about the next thing I've not done. And that is like most women. I wish I could, I mean, I'm telling you the truth. And when I leave a position, then I realize, wow, you were in a powerful position. Why didn't you enjoy it more? That's the issue. So I always feel like that. Second, I have very mixed feelings about being celebrated as the first woman and first African and first this. Because I'm not sure that's what, I don't think it should be the case. I don't think it should have been the case that we didn't have a woman running the place previously, because intelligence is equally distributed, ability is equally distributed. And so I have very mixed feelings, actually, when I hear this first woman, first African. Why not? Why hasn't there been an African male or female before? We have capability. So that's one set of feelings. On the other hand, okay, of course, I'm glad, that finally there's a first woman, first African, and this. But what I said to them during my interview, very cheekily, because some of these issues came up, is, look, WTO doesn't need a first this and a first that. WTO needs the most capable person to try and turn the thing around. And if it's a woman and if it's an African, that's great. And of course, I think I'm qualified to do it. But that's not my priority. So that was a bit of a cheeky answer. So, yeah.
I love the answer.
So that's where I am. But thank you very much. I'm really honored when people recognize. I wish I could relax a bit more, but but there's so many problems to solve, and the world is getting increasingly more complex, more polarized, and I hope women will try to work across divides and beliefs to try to deliver, particularly the younger women. And I was very excited to see you, and I think the youth are very impressive, and we need to encourage them to be out there and to drive the issues along with the rest of us we're still young, but young in mind.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ngozi, thank you so much.